the first to know. Nsem-Pii TV.
All right, Ebusuyama Minchao, Emo Kaba, and Family Casa for Nisu, Nsem-Pii TV. Be the first to know. Lawyer Paul Adom Ochere. As usual, said the debia or yano, with the touch screen on there. Now, or the facts and figures, now, or the checks and balances at the Atu area. Now, this time around, a dear, and I Paul and Kamasem. Overkai the fourth estate. The fourth estate. At the revelations be a baba one tin so some revelations now implicating the public say especially Same Awukuano, the CEO for National Lotteries Authority. So why disbursement be any quan say we necessicano nanke de coma a yanka and name broom for. Nanso nipa ba kwa friend say Gary Nimakon yes. Our the board chairman. Ebe deny say Sikabia ama hosa nenumu. And a company we to drive fence KGL Technologies. Now, say, etma sign contract of 13 billion Ghana cedis. Yeah, KGL Ebama NLA 175 million Ghana cedis every year. Bia. Now, this has a no copy more court and a lawyer for Adom Ochere so in your time. I didn't reach the munim pensim aba. What the evidence actually say, even grano. Since the funding of the company no intiminya 3 billion da NLA enya 3 billion da to the extent say what do most spending nyina etimi aba 12.10 abusafo ensem wom pa na ese kalkumo ho ye de no kokonu mti enche ye bekọ ne akohwe evidences a Paul Adom Ochere e de etudwa owie enso no wo de WhatsApp chat bi a makomako 68 okay WhatsApp chat makomako 68 asa media akopiem ewo CID akache ode ni nyina so etu edwa mese so ebre na omiati na owie a obehunu de Paul Adom Ochere ekan na do adwenkyere ato comment section no ase
billion cedis. Now this is a fact. It says NLA gave a contract for 3 billion cedis. Now this is a fact as we checked. The National Lottery Authority did not give KGL a contract, but rather a license to engage in the provision of lotto services to subscribers, and hence there has never been a need for a PPA approval since a license is not a contract. Now, KGL, Suleiman Brahma was saying that a contract was given to KGL without PPA approval. And this PPA thing, I think sometimes we have to look at it well. We don't get to know that it's not everything that PPA approval is required. If, for instance, you are renting something from somewhere, you do not require PPA approval. If you are offering a contract, you require PPA approval. If you are offering a license, you do not require PPA approval. That's fundamental in the law of the PPA. So if you are a journalist, you need to acquaint yourself properly with the PPA rules and regulations, the ethos thereof, so that you can properly do your story. I believe that Mr. Brahma was misled into thinking that whatever relationship between NLA and KGL was a contract. It wasn't, it was a license. And he called it, he gave the value 3 billion. Let's see whether there's a 3 billion there. Number two, the National Lottery Authority has never made 3 billion cedis in revenue since its establishment in 1957. And hence it is impossible for this said sum to be given to KGL. The point they are making here is that they as NLA, they never in their history, and it's published, made a 3 billion CD profits, so that they can have a business worth 3 billion to be given to one person. They themselves, they don't make that money. The whole business doesn't make that money. So we are not sure where the 3 billion is coming from. But Suleiman Brahma is challenging it. Now, these are the published amount of monies that has been made by the NLA recently. The big ones, 2013, 255 million. 2014, 315 million. 2015, 365 million. 2016, 397 million. 2017, 401 million. 2018, 381 million. 2019, 349 million. 2020, 299 million. That's low. The total revenue by NLA for 8 years between 2013 and 2020 is 2.7 2.7 billion. So the NLA in all of its from 2013 to 2020 did not make anything near 3 billion. They made 2.7 billion. But the fourth estate then runs with a headline and says KGL. KGL is a corporate entity. They deal with many people across the world. You run this kind of headline as a journalist from Ghana. KGL is a wholly owned Ghanaian company. That's why I depart from Manasseh all the time. That when you are talking about a Ghanaian company, you have to pause. It's not always about being a hero journalist. Attorney General, Justice Yoni Kulendi, Supreme Court Judge, and Richard Jakpa, currently the Director of Operations at the National Security Council. Richard Jakpa has led many of the operations that has excited the NDC base, going to people's homes, arresting them, etc., etc. Now, Richard Jakpa has sent a petition to the CID, asking the commissioner in charge of the CID to look at what he calls Godfrey Dame's purported interference in that two-forcing case. What was the purported interference? Purported interference was that a meeting was convened for the two gentlemen by the Supreme Court's very distinguished Supreme Court Judge, Justice Yoni Kulendi, in his home to try and resolve matters between the parties. Apparently, Mr. Dame responded to this because of course, everyone respects Justice Kulendi. And so he responded because of Justice Kulendi's stature and personal relationship with him. Now, though, Richard Jakpa is asking the CID to do more than the High Court did. The High Court looked at the matter and gave a ruling on it. I'm sure we'll give you that as well. But the big story is that whilst Jakpa has sent that petition, another person, Mr. Daniel Oforiatta, says that no. Whilst Richard Jakpa has sent the petition, he believes that the CID should actually be looking at the conduct of Mr. Jakpa and the Supreme Court judge. Now, here is the petition sent by Daniel Mafo Oforiatta. They call him DM Oforiatta. It is written to the Director General Criminal Investigations Department in Accra. It says, "Dear Madam, request to investigate His Lordship Justice Yoni Kulendi and Richard Jakpa for conspiring to interfere with the administration of justice." It is as follows. "I hope this reaches you in good spirits," he says. "I am a citizen of the Republic of Ghana with keen interest in the development of the rule of law, good governance, and democracy. In January 2023, the Republic of Ghana commenced a prosecution of accused persons in a case bearing the title Republic versus Kesela Tuforsen and two others. Richard Jakpa, the current Director of Operations at the National Security Council, who was dishonorably released from the Ghana Armed Forces in November 2007 for unsatisfactory conduct and failure to pass his examinations, was a third accused. The said Richard Jakpa, as Daniel writes, as subsequently became obvious from the proceedings, is the cousin of Justice Yoni Kulendi, a Supreme Court judge." It goes on. "In the course of the trial, it was revealed that right from the first day the accused persons were arraigned before the court, 18 January 2023, Richard Jakpa deployed the highly influential Justice of the Supreme Court, Yoni Kulendi, to obstruct the course of justice in the case with the ultimate object of ensuring that the prosecution of Richard Jakpa was either abated by the then Attorney General Godfrey Adame or he, Jakpa, was acquitted. The acts of Justice Kulendi and Richard Jakpa border on the commission of crimes relating to interference with legal proceedings. The following facts, evidence of which I will produce, bear this out. 1. From the proceedings of the trial, on the 18th of January 2022, after Richard Jakpa had been arraigned in court, he solicited the help of his cousin, Justice Yoni Kulendi, to procure the assistance of the then Attorney General to facilitate the release of Richard Jakpa when he had not satisfied the conditions of the bail granted to him. Justice Kulendi actually went to the office of the former Attorney General Godfrey Dame to request that his cousin be permitted to go home. At the trial, under cross-examination by the Director of Public Prosecutions, Richard Jakpa confessed to obtaining the telephone number of Attorney General Godfrey Adame from Justice Yoni Kulendi, after which he confidently attempted to meet with Mr. Dame and inundated him with many WhatsApp messages. All these were tendered in evidence at the trial on the 18th of June 2024. It is on record that Mr. Dame refused Richard Jakpa's invitation to meet with him. The evidence shows that from the time Richard Jakpa first got in touch with the Attorney General Godfrey Dame via WhatsApp, he sent in all 68 WhatsApp messages to him, in reply to which the then Attorney General sent only 2. 68. But what was the content of those 68 messages? That's a lot of messages to send to an Attorney General. 68. Really? Is there anyone that you have sent 68 messages to? I can't think of anyone that I have sent 68 messages to, unless you're looking at over a year or 2 years or something like that. 68, 111 up to 68. Wow. Okay. Well, Mr. Daniel Oforiatta will prove this when he's called. He sent 68 WhatsApp messages to him, in reply to which the then Attorney General sent only 2. Richard Jakpa confirmed this under cross-examination by the Director of Public Prosecutions, Mrs. Yvonne Atakra Obu-Obisa. Really? Okay. Furthermore, it is undisputable that when Mr. Dame turned down Richard Jakpa's overtures to meet him, Justice Yoni Kulendi, in breach of the code regulating his work as a Superior Court judge, lured the then Attorney General into meetings at his, Justice Kulendi's, residence on no less than 4 occasions. Justice Kulendi would then secretly invite Richard Jakpa to come over to his house and interfere in the legal proceedings pending against Jakpa by impressing upon Mr. Dame to stop the prosecution of the former or ensure that the prosecution will let him go free at the submission of no case stage of the trial. This is borne out by the record of proceedings at the trial. Indeed, the record showed that apart from inside the courtroom and the house of Justice Kulendi, Mr. Dame never met Mr. Richard Jakpa anywhere. The above, madam, shows a calculated effort by the learned Justice of the Supreme Court, Mr. Justice Yoni Kulendi, together with his cousin Richard Jakpa, to interfere in the prosecution of the criminal case filed against Richard Jakpa by the Republic of Ghana. This is not only dishonorable, but also borders on the commission of crimes in accordance with the Criminal Code and Offences Act 1960, Act 29. His request, according to Mr. Daniel Ofori, to the CID is as follows. He says, I respectfully request you to conduct an investigation into the conduct of Justice Yoni Kulendi and his cousin Richard Jakpa, to unravel all acts of criminality disclosed by their conduct and take such prosecutorial action as is consistent with the law. I am available and willing to assist you with any documents, including relevant exhibits and the record of proceedings in the Republic versus Case Lato Forsen and 2 others, which you cannot access. In the meantime, attached to this petition are 1. Copies of the WhatsApp communication between Richard Jakpa and the Attorney General Godfred Yeboah Dame. 2. Record of proceedings in the trial of the case Republic versus Case Lato Forsen and 2 others dated 6 June 2024. 3. Record of proceedings in the trial of the case Republic versus Case Lato Forsen and 2 others dated 18 June 2024. 4. Record of proceedings in the trial of the case Republic versus Case Lato Forsen and 2 others dated 20th June 2024. 5. Record of proceedings in the trial of the case of the Republic versus Case Lato Forsen and 2 others dated 27 June 2024. 6. Hope the matters raised herein will be thoroughly investigated in accordance with due process. Yours faithfully, signed, Daniel Mafo Oforiatta. So this matter is not going away anytime soon. I was on the same touchscreen here last year in the heat of elections that we had to analyze the Richard Jakpa and the Attorney General matter. As you may know, the matter started at the High Court in the prosecution of causing financial loss to the states in the case of the ambulance. Case Lato Forsen was being questioned about an LC that he had approved and a contract he had approved without approval of Parliament, or that Parliament had approved the contract in a certain way and he was executing it in another way. This is what he was accused of. The trial went on quite acrimonious, a lot of conversations here and there. Good Evening Ghana got involved, who were lambasted, attacked, all kinds of things. My friend Nsem-Pii, at that time he was the communications director of the National Democratic Congress, held press conferences after press conferences after the court trial. It was a big deal. There were many interested parties, business interests, political interests, judicial interests. It was a really big trial. At the end of the case of the prosecution, the case Lato Forsen and all the others made a submission of no case. Those who understand criminal procedure understand it. There's not much time for me to go into it, but they made a submission of no case, that the prosecution had refused to make a case against them, that they had not been able to make a case against them. This is what they said. And then the High Court ruled that they had a case to answer, so case Lato Forsen had opened his defense. But then he had filed an appeal against that interlocutory ruling by the High Court that there was a case to answer. So the Court of Appeal heard the matter and decided by a 2-1 majority that in fact the prosecution had not made a case and that there was no case to answer. Godfrey Dame immediately responded and said that he was going to file an appeal at the Supreme Court challenging the conclusion of the Court of Appeal on that interlocutory matter. Before he could do that, 7 December occurred. John Dramani Mahama was elected president. Mr. Dominic Ayini became the Attorney General and he discontinued the Supreme Court action. So we thought the matter was dead and gone. But here we are. Richard Jakpa raises the matter again, writes to the CID and says, I am not satisfied. Godfrey Dame should be prosecuted because he was trying to interfere in the case. When I called him, he said, okay. So Daniel Oforata says, Godfrey Dame should be prosecuted. Richard Dame.
Because say Attorney General name court. Interpretation.
Attorney General na show interest or
so kono kwaji interest
no Supreme Court in Chechire mu nti de ka ko de akonta ebetima say yes you lose your job as Chief Justice but wadwuma as
to kono for judicial review and attach Attorney General
na Attorney General
so akobi for interpretation I see a little sympathy here.
Yes.
Our parents your mama intimi mama team e kase why dey meaning say Council of State no pedifo bi edin komo aka say John where they too much it go through the legal means na enquire say Supreme Court will give an interpretation say yes you betima yine as Chief Justice but on the judicial side he has a profession and yet say or from SWO say as a judge be but conduct in the office of Chief Justice and our form
job money throughout the man kunu and in the job money
send your Chief Justice and conditions
but Juma as a judge or from in her duty as a judge
ruling
say be incompetent and stated misbehavior say no count there and the position as a Chief Justice na mu dealing with it say wa monadwuma ye it is affecting haven't you seen some headmaster yeah demote no
yes
because of a memo yanye
yes
the teacher adwuma and free himself yampamono ye demote no man call classroom
yes
papa petitioned to remove Justice Kolende over alleged misconduct. Request to investigate his lordship Justice Yone Kolende and Richard Jakpa for conspiring to interfere with the administration of justice. I hope this reached you in good spirit. I'm a citizen of the Republic of Ghana with a keen interest in the development of the rule of law, good governance, and democracy. In January 2023, the Republic of Ghana commenced the prosecution of accused person in case of bearing the title Republic versus Kaselato Forcing and 2 others. Richard Antumna Jakpa, the current director of operations at National Security Council, who was dishonorably released from the Ghana Armed Forces in November 2007 for unsatisfactory conduct and failure to pass his examination, was the third accused. The said Richard Jakpa, as subsequently became obvious from the proceeding, is the cousin of Justice Yoni Kolende, a Supreme Court judge. In the course of the trial, it was revealed that right from the first day of accused person were arraigned before court, 18 January, Richard Jakpa deployed the highly influential justice of the Supreme Court, Yoni Kolende, to obstruct the course of justice in the case with the ultimate object of ensuring that the prosecution of Richard Jakpa was either abated by the then Attorney General Godfrey Dame or he, Jakpa, was acquitted. The act of Justice Kolende and Richard Jakpa border on the commission of crimes relating to interfering with legal proceedings. The following facts, evidence of which I will produce, bear this out. Where are the facts? Then you go on. Or the WhatsApp communication between Jakpa and the Attorney General. Move kai sa se mu ya we pie mu. Say omukoshia Yone Kolende fie. Edi di nkomo mo ka se nka wonwu ne emamu ma na so omutwitwa ne emabi so the Jakpa na na be kae. Eno ena abranche bi di krata akoma omampani jo mama say Yone Kolende on fatase obetra Supreme Court. Na Jakpa so on fatase obek hold you a national position of such repute as the Director of National Security, Nsem-Pii Mama has been petitioned to investigate. And I know Japano, the member step aside. And now, prima facie case, you have to be established whether or not the investigation go on. But you know, there or a justice of the Supreme Court. It is quite a fast of a justice of the Supreme Court to say Article 146 when a petition, Nsem-Pii will have to wrestle to Council of State to determine whether or not Jakpa
should step aside from their various.
I don't know whether the president will, well, if a prima facie case is established, the president will have to suspend Unicolende. Only the so chief justice to only the sentasa the board obeying the outright.
The law is not the law. The
now
law,
the law is not the law.
The law is not the law.
Chifu Adom Ochere MP David Bondi has apologized after public backlash over his remarks on the viral video of a suspended KNUST assistant headmaster. The MP has suggested the student consented to the act, sparking criticism. The no naman forces are quite to say on what crimes were in Kwaladibi. Now, Yakochu will be video no of Fondo Akrakitwa, as also the new for. Or say, get a penny somehow, Umiemi Anunti. Now, MP. Now, I say, Chifu Adom Ochere, who will be Anna. David Bondi.
What it is in the relationship he had. So we share video in a year. Okay. Sincerely, the man was not forcing the young girl.
One forcing Akwadano.
No, don't.
Okay.
One forcing young girl. No.
Okay.
It was more of a consented thing. That portions of the statement I made during the discussion was taken out of context and was placed, and it was all over the place, which of course was such